As they started to grow, they kind of got minds of their own, and they realized that what the government had created and what they were actually doing wasn't necessarily right.
They were designed to have the same blood type so that they could transfuse one another on the battlefield. Their organs are interchangeable, so that's what sets up the end of season 1, where Zach shoots himself in the head to have his heart go to Max.
The pulse is basically, if you can imagine, waking up in the morning and not being able to use your cell phone, not being able to get an ATM machine, not being able to get on the internet, not being able to do the things that we've all become not only accustomed to and comfortable with, but relying on.
It turned the United States overnight into a third world country.
Through the lens of science fiction, we take a world, we make all that stuff more vivid. You know, we make the political structure more corrupt. We make the whole social infrastructure more ragged, more chaotic. And so all the moral choices become that much harder and that much more vivid.
I remember my first day on the set and just walking around this incredible world that had been created by the production team. Really just blew my mind.
It's not a question of if that's going to happen, it's a question of when. Hip-hop had become the dominant musical influence in the country, the world. It sort of stood to reason that hip-hop would also, you know, continue and extrapolate into the future.
So what we basically did was we wanted to create this angelic beginning theme that kind of crashed into this post-apocalyptic music and noise.
I was intrigued by it because it was set in the future. And yet Chick wanted hip-hop, or the sound of hip-hop, to play a major role in the show.
I remember both Chick and Randy, you know, kept calling us up and saying, make it crazy. You know, I mean, we'd get it to a certain point where we were like, this is for TV, you know? And they'd be like, you know, it's got to be more. It's got to, you know, this is an X-File.
Because of that slightly futuristic aspect of the show, I wanted the music to sound fresh. So by nature, if you put a hit song in there, it's not going to sound fresh or futuristic. So I'm really happy with how the first season came out in terms of discovering new talent.
Well, one of the main goals for the show in general was to have it kind of multi-ethnic in look. It was in the future when everyone was supposedly going to be mixed and hopefully mixed together. And obviously that was a very important part to casting the character of Max, and I think one of the things that made it so wonderful with Jessica, because it's hard to determine exactly what Jessica's ethnic background is.
I went in there and I knew about the project. I had 2 pages to go off of, and I went in and I read for Chick and Ray. Those are the 2 producers, and Chick actually wrote it. And just did my thing. I was so in love with the character, it was almost effortless.
Do you ever have to do something you really don't want to do? How I make my living. What's your point?
She's a bike messenger during the day at a place called Jam Pony. And that's kind of where she just chills and she's herself, and she doesn't worry about, you know, is this person going to do this or that, or wondering if someone's kind of weird or works for the government. She just kind of like hangs with her friends and lives as normal of a life as she can.
You ever notice how cats always seem to show up around dinner time?
I got a call from my television agent who said, you have an audition for Dark Angel. And I said, that's the Fox? You mean the James Cameron thing? And she said, yeah, it's a TV show. So penny dropped, and I was like, oh, okay. I want to be Logan then. And she said, good, because that's what you're going to be auditioning for.
The drug cordodiazepine is expensive, in short supply, and much sought after as a cancer treatment.
I think without Eyes Only, he would have been completely rudderless and just adrift, awash in his own sort of moody world. And Eyes Only, I think that
the opposite of a mask was his concept, which is that normally a Lone Ranger would wear a mask over the eyes and would be the one part that would be obscured. And I think Logan, in his little paradoxical, interesting way, decided that the mask should be ultimately revealed.